Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Hoover. I work for Lancaster Farmland Trust. I'm the ag coordinator for the group. I actually live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in Salisbury Township. I've had a career as a dairy farmer for 30 years. I worked for Land O'Lakes Cooperative as a member relations director for about 10 years. And the last couple of years, I've been working as a conservation specialist with Lancaster Farmland Trust. And the story I want to share with you today is a prototype that we've developed that we're using in local municipalities to bring conservation compliance to the plain sect. Actually, all farms in the municipalities, but the target initially was the plain sect. So the region we're working on is Lancaster County. And as you know, Lancaster County contributes quite a bit of the sediment and nutrients into the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So we're a targeted area for the various WIP programs and other water programs, water quality programs. And specifically, I want to drill down into Salisbury Township, where our story begins. And Salisbury Township is the very eastern point of Lancaster County, and it also serves as the headwaters of the Pequay Creek watershed. So our goal is to work down this watershed from east to west and target each municipality, each township in there, and work with the farmers to help them get their conservation plans in order, introduce them to cost share programs to get BMPs in place. And also, one of the most important aspects is to gather correct agricultural conservation data off these farms. So Salisbury Township's the third largest municipality in Lancaster County. The agricultural landscape's dominated by the plain sect. About 70% of our population is made up of the Amish. We have about 24 actual church districts, Amish church districts in the township. And unbelievably, we have 43 one-room Amish schools. The township's home to over 200 unique farming operations, which we surveyed last year. What really got Salisbury engaged as a township and the supervisors is the MS4 program in Pennsylvania, a program that requires municipalities to make stormwater improvements in their urban areas. One of the challenges with Salisbury Township is we have a very small percentage of the township that's actually urban. So we've been working with DEP here in the state and several other municipalities, and they've granted us the opportunity to work just outside the urban area on farms to help meet our MS4 requirement. That's a bonus because a rural township like ours, really, we ought to have the opportunity to work in the ag area, just like the urbanized townships are working in their urban areas. So the three program deliverables, before I get into the actual structure of the program, are one, to provide conservation programs. So the goal is to survey, visit every farm in the municipality, and that's every property over 10 acres, and help folks who don't have plans get their plans, and or if they need plans updated. The second big piece of this is to educate these small farms and plain sect farms on the opportunities for funding for BMP or best management practice implementation on their farms. One of the larger BMPs that are needed on many farms is barnyard improvements and repairs. Too many of these barnyards, whenever there's a rain, that washes the barnyard off and it drains into a grass area that may do some filtration, but that runoff should be going into manure storage and hauled to the field. The third point is centralizing farm plan data. A lot of the data that we have on agriculture is missing a lot of pieces. It's not a complete set of data. Too much of the data is theoretical in nature. Most of the data that we have in agriculture that's accurate is based on farmers who participated in cost share programs. And what you'll find is when you get on a lot of the farms, many farmers, a majority of the farms have implemented soil health practices, manure handling practices, nutrient management practices on their own dime because they knew it was a beneficial practice to the profitability of their operation. So in order to tell an accurate story, the true story of ag conservation, we need a better data set. So one of the real goals here is to centralize these farm plans that contain that data into DEP's Practice Keeper system. So all the farms we visit, We gather that plan data, whether it's a new plan or an existing plan. We feed that to the county conservation district so that it can be entered into practice keepers, again, to tell this story. So how did we get started on this journey? For quite a few years, Salisbury Township has worked with Team Ag as a local consultant to do plan work, to work with farmers, to help them with BMP implementation. As they started to work with some of the local church districts and some of the Amish, again, the Amish are now just starting to work with the system better, use cost share programs, where in the past they've always been kind of arm's length from working with government programs. Team Ag, in some discussions with Lancaster Farmland Trust and Environmental Defense Fund, came up with a project that they presented to the township about 2 years ago to implement some programs with a couple church districts in the Amish community in Salisbury Township. The township kind of pushed back a little bit and said, why do we want to just do a piecework or a patchwork? Let's do every farm in the township. And that led to the birth of this prototype where we put a person, a boots on the ground, so to speak, to survey every farm to accomplish our goals. So basically, the Lancaster Farmland Trust was the lead partner here. They obtained the grant. Salisbury Township served as a critical element because we're the trusted partner of our residents in the township. Farmers know Salisbury Township. They don't know the trust or Team Ag or Environmental Defense Fund. So any mailings that we did, if it was from the township, there's a pretty good chance they were going to open that letter and not just throw it in the file 13. Environmental Defense Fund brought an interesting dynamic to this program, and that was a kind of a business analysis of these farms. So part of our survey included capturing information of tools that the farmers were using to help manage their operation. What tools were they using to manage herd health and herd productivity as far as collecting agronomy information, such as soil testing? Are they keeping records? Are they using a business plan? Many of these small farms, frankly, won't be in business 4 or 5 or 6 years from now. How much money do we want to spend on manure storage and barnyard improvements for a farm that's really not going to be in business much longer? And Team Ag provided the technical expertise. So what would happen is basically I would go out, survey the farms, collect that data on the farm and different best management practices in place, information about any existing conservation plans, and determine the need for new plans or BMP implementation opportunities. We compiled that at the trust, and then we would forward that to Team Ag, who provided the technical assistance for farm plan development and any other implementation opportunities. First, we wanted to do was evaluate the value of conservation in the area. So that was the survey process. The next thing we wanted to do was build a capacity of farm advisors. We didn't do a lot of this aspect yet. This was kind of second year activities, and COVID kind of threw a wrench in that works. But reaching out to nutritionists on the farm, agronomists on the farm, dairy co-op advisors on the farm to help them understand the conservation needs, the conservation opportunities, the various programs, so they could keep that in front of these farmers whenever they interact with them. Number 3 was to create learning farms. We have about 8 farms that we've selected in Salisbury Township where we have done best management practice development implementation work, and those farms will be open to other farmers in not only the township, but the area, the region. At some point in time, we hope to have educational meetings on these farms to bring farmers on that are a little skeptical or need to learn some more, and especially learn a little bit how these conservation opportunities work. Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to reach out to? Number 4 there, engage the marketplace. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. That's kind of the capacity of farm advisors. We've reached out to the 4 major co-ops in the area, interacted with them. A lot of those co-ops also have environmental stewardship programs. The 5th one here is kind of unique, and it kind of relates directly to the Amish. You've heard of a frolic to raise a barn after a barn fire. We thought this would be an interesting opportunity, especially with developing stream buffers and planting trees. A great way to bring out Amish youth, to get them engaged in conservation, to learn more about conservation, especially as we see a big transition in the Amish community from agrarian to urban. And what I mean by that is we've seen a lot of Amish exit their farm operations and choose to get off-farm jobs or develop off-farm businesses. And as that situation trends forward, we see cattle disappearing on farms. And what's happening is these old pastures and stream banks are kind of healing themselves. Trees are starting to grow up at random. Grass buffers are starting to materialize where cattle kept that chewed down in the past. And so this is an opportunity to change the next generation of, here's an opportunity to come in and plant trees and shrubs that add value in these buffers rather than letting just the old mulberries and scrub stuff grow up. So again, COVID impacted that a little bit, and we haven't had a chance to really develop that, but I'll get into that in a second of one of the projects that we've developed here in the township. A dollar spent on conservation adds value to the farm, but it's not a direct return, an immediate return, I should say. So a lot of these guys struggle with investing in some of these conservation BMPs. And that's where it's interesting to see the small farm community, the Amish community, are now changing their minds when it comes to accepting some of these cost share programs and grant programs, while we really don't try to highlight the bay as we discuss water quality with farmers, because that's way far away. We want to talk water quality in our streams and local quality, but yet to get these guys, these local farmers, get them on a bus, take them down to the bay and meet some fishermen down there, guys who make their living just like these farmers do, hard work, backbreaking work, and develop that relationship can really encourage guys to do the conservation work they need to do on their farms. At this point, I'm the trusted advisor. Like I said when I introduced myself, I have a long history in production agriculture and a lot of it in the dairy industry. When I started in Salisbury Township, I had a direct relationship because a lot of these folks are my neighbors. But as I've moved on and now completed the survey in Paradise Township, I have a rapport with these farmers because I am a farmer. They get very frustrated when folks come out from various conservation groups to try and do outreach and education, maybe deliver some financing programs, or especially a lot of these groups do a lot of buffer work. They don't relate well because they just can't relate to agriculture in the production sense like somebody who has the experience that I do. So we're in the process of trying to find folks who have the experience, on-farm experience, practical experience to, I won't say build an army, but to get a few more people and developing this boots on the ground scenario. It's a great way to get on farms, see what's going on, collect accurate data, and you can relate with these farmers and you can share experiences that you've had in other farms to help motivate them to implement the practices they need to have a quality conservation program on their farm. As we visited all these farms and we developed a list of BMPs that need to be done, one of the things is a lot of stream work needs to be done. So what we actually did is developed a whole stream project. We took the White Horse Run, one of the tributaries into the Peckway Stream, Peckway Creek. There are 24 landowners on that stream. We got those landowners all together in a meeting, and we pitched a project to them that we would provide trees, fencing, crossing, and 4 years of maintenance on these tree buffers if they would give us the 35-foot buffer on both sides of the stream. We had 100% participate, almost 100%. One guy didn't want to, but almost 100% participation in this. So we're in the process of doing all the buffer designs, and we're hoping that by next spring we can start to do the plantings and fencing installations. So again, a lot of the work in conservation has been kind of piecemeal. A group will get a grant to do some work on an impaired stream, then they'll go find the landowner to try and do work. What we're doing here is surveying all the farms and determining where those opportunities are, then getting the dollars and going in and doing the work. So we're switching it up and trying not to get the cart before the horse, so to speak. Like I said, most of the farmers in this part of the county are dairymen, and the co-ops, National Milk Producers Federation, have engaged in this second level of the farm program. Farm program, for those of you who don't know, is Farmers Assuring Responsible Management. And the first platform they introduced about 10 years ago was the Dairy Animal Care Program. Last year, they developed the Environmental Stewardship Program. These programs are implemented on co-op members of National Milk to bring improved animal care programs and improved conservation stewardship opportunities. Again, I mentioned the frolic idea. We just haven't had an opportunity to engage that yet. But as we talk to landowners, especially on the White Horse Run project, they're kind of excited about maybe getting kids from the school and some youth group. They're excited about it also. So we're looking forward to developing that and implementing it. So this is kind of sums all that up. First, it takes a local champion, somebody who has a relationship with these farmers, somebody that can get on every farm and help convince guys who have been slow to adopt conservation plans and implementing conservation best management practices to just wander into an area and try and do this work without the support of your township supervisors leads to a block wall. To have them on board, them engaged, them as championing the program is very valuable. Again, harnessing trusted advisors, other folks who go on these farms to kind of preach the gospel of conservation is a real benefit. And then just rallying the greater community. So these are just a few pictures. The one on the left is our initial kickoff meeting where we invite all the farmers to explain the program, the goals, the opportunities, but most of all, to start that relationship building and also to answer questions. You'd be amazed how many questions these guys have because they know and they want to do the right things. They want to get these plans on their farms, but they're busy farming. One of the other things that I'll mention here is the timing couldn't be better right now to do this work on farms for two reasons. One is, like I said, a lot of these guys are dairymen and their marketplace is starting to push environmental stewardship as a requirement to ship to the co-op. And number two, and just as important, in Pennsylvania, DEP several years ago started an inspection program where they're visiting 10% of the farms every year to inspect to see whether they're meeting those plan requirements. Do they have a conservation program or plan? Do they have the manure management plan? So everybody knows that it's not a matter of if anymore, it's a matter of when they're going to have to get their programs. So these last two slides just depict some of the work we've done. So on the left, you see the same farm, top and bottom, before best management practices implemented. On the right is after. You don't have those mud lots. Cattle are healthier because they're cleaner. We're filtering the water better before it gets to streams. This is some drone footage we took of the White Horse Run. These landowners are all engaged in our White Horse Run improvement project. And I'm hoping within 2 years, we'll have this all planted and fenced and have a really great conclusion to our story. So that's our story. Like I said, the key is working directly with farmers, capturing all the data of a region, not going in and do piecemeal work. I think we have a really great prototype and we're looking to kind of roll it out to other municipalities.